What if the celebration of your dream promotion turned into a chilling betrayal that threatened your very life, unraveled by a single dinner invitation? That's the unsettling reality I, Anna Brooks, faced on a crisp autumn afternoon in October 2025, as the golden sunlight filtered through the towering glass windows of my Chicago advertising firm, Brooks and Tate Creative. At 31, I'd carved a niche for myself as a senior copywriter, working tirelessly to craft advertisements that blended creativity with strategy. A challenging job, but one that filled me with a deep sense of reward. My desk, cluttered with sketches and coffee mugs, overlooked Lake Michigan, its waves a constant rhythm against the city skyline. Married to David, 32, for just over a year, I'd found a partner who complemented my ambitions. We met 3 years ago on a collaborative campaign for a local retailer. Our initial interactions focused on deadlines and market trends. But over time, those exchanges evolved into personal conversations that revealed shared interests: art, hiking, a love for home-cooked meals. As our project neared its end, I feared losing touch with him, so I mustered the courage to confess my growing feelings, my heart racing as I spoke over coffee in the office break room. To my relief, David accepted, his warm smile easing my nerves, and we began dating. A year later, on a quiet evening by the lake, he proposed with a simple ring, and we married in a small ceremony surrounded by close friends. Before the wedding, David revealed his past: a brief marriage that ended in divorce after a year, no children, a mutual parting due to clashing values. He seemed reserved about love, a shadow of regret lingering from that failure, but I understood. As long as there were no lingering ties, his history didn't bother me. Marriage wasn't about erasing the past but building a future together, and I embraced that with open arms. Our married life blossomed in a cozy apartment near our workplaces, a short walk from David's parents' home in the upscale Lincoln Park neighborhood. As a dual-income household, we efficiently split chores. David handled laundry, I managed grocery lists, supporting each other through our hectic schedules. Weekdays were a blur of meetings and deadlines, leaving little time beyond brief dinners where we'd share stories over pasta or stir-fry. Weekends, however, were our sanctuary. We both loved food, often experimenting with recipes like homemade gnocchi or spicy Thai curry, the kitchen filling with laughter and the scent of garlic. Dining out was rare due to my severe allergy to rosaceae fruits, strawberries, apples, pears, peaches, a condition that emerged in my late 20s, turning a once joyful habit into a minefield. I recall the day it started, a sunny afternoon when I indulged in a bowl of strawberries, only to feel my mouth swell, my throat tightening until breathing became a struggle. Rushed to the hospital, tests confirmed the allergy, devastating me. I could no longer enjoy my favorite fruits, their vibrant colors a forbidden memory. Reactions had struck unexpectedly, like the time I ate a salad with hidden apple slices, my skin turning red and puffy, forcing me to carry an EpiPen. This made dining out an ordeal. Even dishes I thought were safe might harbor allergens in sauces or garnishes. I felt guilty asking restaurants to accommodate me, my cheeks flushing as I quizzed waitstaff, and over time, I developed an aversion to eating out, preferring the control of home cooking. The initial severe reaction and the loss of my fruit favorites left me overly cautious, triple-checking ingredients with David, who patiently indulged my vigilance. Fortunately, David and his parents understood. His mother, Helen, a petite woman with silver hair and a gentle demeanor, had a deep empathy for allergies, stemming from her father's lethal wheat intolerance. "Wheat's in everything, bread, sauces, even a trace could harm him," she'd explained, her voice soft but firm. She researched my allergy meticulously, ensuring meals at her home were safe, her kitchen a sanctuary of allergen-free cooking. When we dined out with her, she'd call ahead, her insistence on my safety almost bringing tears to my eyes. "You shouldn't have to be scared during meals," she'd say, her kindness a balm to my worries. My relationship with David's parents, especially Helen, was warm. They treated me like family, easing my initial fears of living so close. David's father, Robert, a retired engineer, often shared stories over tea, while Helen and I bonded over gardening in their backyard. One day, a project I'd pitched, a bold ad campaign for a sustainable brand, succeeded beyond expectations, earning me a promotion to creative director. I rushed home to tell David, who swept me into a hug, his laughter filling our apartment. I called Helen next, and her excitement was palpable. "That's wonderful, Anna. We must celebrate," she insisted, her voice bright. She proposed lunch at Le Jardin, an upscale restaurant in a luxurious hotel nearby, a place I'd dreamed of visiting since my college days, its website showcasing fruit-filled tarts that once tempted me. "It's too extravagant," I hesitated, recalling its rosacea-heavy menu, pears in salads, apples in desserts. The risk terrified me. Even with precautions, cross-contamination in a busy kitchen could trigger a reaction. "You don't have to hold back," Helen countered, her tone warm. "This is a joyous occasion. Let me treat you." Her confidence swayed me. Helen had always been cautious, and she mentioned a connection at the restaurant, though neither she nor David had brought it up before. I assumed it was a humble tie she didn't boast about. When I told David, he was surprised about the connection but relieved when I mentioned Helen had informed the restaurant about my allergies. "It's your celebration. Enjoy yourself," he said with a laugh, his support bolstering my excitement. I'd always admired Le Jardin's cuisine, its elegance a contrast to my usual caution, and the promotion deserved a special mark. On the day, a Wednesday, I took a half-day off after morning work, choosing a navy dress and heels, a step up from my usual office attire. Colleagues noticed, wishing me well as I left, my anticipation growing. At 12:45 p.m., I entered the hotel's grand lobby, its marble floors gleaming under chandeliers, and found Helen waiting, elegant in a pearl necklace. We headed to the restaurant on the first floor, its French doors opening to a dining room of crystal glassware and white linen tables. With a 1 p.m. reservation, we were escorted to our table, but the hostess warned of a delay due to the busy lunch rush. Understanding the high-end demand, I ordered champagne, encouraged by Helen's cheer. The bubbles danced on my tongue, the best I'd tasted, heightening my spirits as we chatted about the promotion. Dishes at neighboring tables, seared salmon, delicate pastries, looked divine, my mouth watering despite my allergy concerns. Helen's reassurance, her connection promise, lulled me into a rare sense of ease, until a shadow of doubt crept in, a whisper that this perfect moment might not last. What if a single phone call during a celebratory lunch unmasked a sinister plot that could have ended your life, triggered by a chef's desperate plea? That's the harrowing twist. I, Anna Brooks, encountered on October 15, 2025, as I sat at a linen-draped table in Le Jardin, the upscale restaurant inside Chicago's opulent Grand Meridian Hotel. The air buzzed with the clink of crystal and the murmur of affluent diners, the scent of truffles and butter wafting from the kitchen. I, 31, sipped the finest champagne I'd ever tasted, my spirits lifted by the promotion to creative director and the company of my mother-in-law Helen, who beamed across from me, her pearl necklace catching the chandelier's glow. We'd been waiting for our meal, delayed by the lunchtime rush, and the dishes at neighboring tables, seared scallops, fruit-glazed duck, whetted my appetite despite my rosacea fruit allergy. Helen's assurance that her connection had handled my dietary needs eased my usual caution, the bubbles softening my nerves. Suddenly, my phone rang from inside my purse, its shrill tone cutting through our conversation about my new role. I'd forgotten to silence it, a rare lapse in my otherwise meticulous planning. Seeing the caller ID, my office, I sobered instantly, worry creasing my brow. "Excuse me, Helen," I said, stepping away from the table, my heels clicking on the polished marble floor as I moved toward the hotel lobby. The call was from a colleague, urgent about a document I'd submitted that morning, needing clarification on a data point. Relieved it wasn't an error, I answered their questions, my voice steady despite the champagne's warmth, wrapping up in about 5 minutes. As I prepared to turn off my phone and return to the meal, an unfamiliar woman approached, her chef's white stained with flour, her face pale and tense, her breath uneven. "Excuse me," she said, her voice low but urgent. "You're the customer with the 1 p.m. reservation, right?" I nodded, puzzled by her presence outside the kitchen during such a busy hour. She glanced over her shoulder, as if checking for eavesdroppers, her dark eyes wide with concern. "I need to confirm something about your meal," she added, her hands twisting the hem of her apron. Intrigued yet wary, I answer her questions. "Yes, I was Anna Brooks. Yes, I had an allergy to rosacea fruits. Her expression shifted, a mix of horror and resolve, and she leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. You need to leave the hotel immediately. It's dangerous to go back to the restaurant now. Please ensure your safety. Get out now. The blood drained from my face as her words sank in, my pulse racing. What do you mean? I demanded, my voice trembling, the lobby's grandeur fading into a blur. She hesitated, then spoke quickly. I'm Lisa Carter, the head chef today. I took the reservation call from your mother-in-law. She never mentioned your allergies. I noticed your allergy badge on your bag and checked the menu. Your meal, including the main courses and dessert, contains rosacea fruits in the marinades and sauces. Hidden ingredients. If you eat it, you'll have a severe reaction. My mind reeled, strawberries in the sauce, apples in the glaze, all undetectable by sight. Lisa's urgency, her willingness to interrupt her shift, convinced me she was telling the truth. Why would she? I started, but Lisa cut me off. I know her. She's done this before. Just go now. Lisa's revelation stunned me. She explained she was David's ex-wife, working under her maiden name after their divorce, a connection Helen had exploited. Recognizing me with Helen, Lisa deduced I was the new wife and acted to save me, knowing Helen's manipulative nature from her own marriage. Years ago, living with David's parents, Lisa had endured Helen's bullying, criticism of her cooking despite her culinary school training, discarded meals, snide remarks when David or Robert weren't around. Trapped as a full-time housewife, she'd lacked funds or allies to gather evidence, fleeing into divorce and rebuilding her life at Le Jardin. Helen, discovering her there, had leveraged their past for discounts, a dynamic Lisa reluctantly tolerated. She's jealous, Lisa warned. She'll hurt you to feel superior. Leave before she notices. I thanked her with a shaky nod and bolted for the exit, my dress swishing as I pushed through the revolving doors into the cool autumn air. A taxi waited curbside, and I hopped in, my hands trembling as I gave my parents' address in Evanston. The drive was a blur, the cityscape flashing by as I processed the betrayal. Helen, who'd always seemed so kind, had planned to expose me to allergens, risking my life for reasons I couldn't yet grasp. At home, I collapsed on the couch, my EpiPen a heavy weight in my purse, the champagne's buzz replaced by dread. That evening, my phone rang. Helen. I answered, switching to speaker, my parents and David joining me after I'd briefed them. Where were you? Helen's voice crackled, furious. You left without a word. Do you know how embarrassing that was? I had a special course planned to celebrate your promotion. What kind of upbringing did you have, leaving like that? You've been silent. Don't you realize you've done something wrong? You're not fit to be my son's wife. Her tirade, unlike her usual gentleness, shocked me. I'd always seen her as a loving figure, but this venom, berating my parents, questioning my manners, suggested a darker truth. Rumors of her controlling nature surfaced in my mind, whispers from neighbors I'd dismissed. As she paused, I seized the moment. You told me you informed the restaurant about my allergies when you made the reservation, right? That I could relax. The line went silent, then she huffed. I knew about your allergies, so I must have told them. Maybe it's the staff's oversight. Her defensiveness raised red flags. Lisa had handled the call, and her account contradicted Helen's. Le Jardin's strict allergy protocols, backed by recorded calls for disputes, meant the truth was verifiable. The chef said the meal had rosacea fruits in hidden ingredients, I pressed. Why didn't you mention my allergies? Helen's pause was telling, her voice rising. I despise you. You outshine me with your success, your neighborhood praise. You deserve some pain. Her confession, born of envy over my promotion and social standing, left me cold. She arrogantly claimed no one would believe me, but I had evidence. My family listening, the call recorded. What if a recorded confession turned a mother-in-law's betrayal into her downfall, freeing you to rebuild a life rooted in trust and triumph? That's the justice I, Anna Brooks, secured on October 15, 2025, as I sat in my parents' Evanston living room, the phone call with Helen on speaker, her venomous words echoing through the space. David, my husband, and my parents listened in stunned silence as Helen's tirade revealed her intent to harm me. Jealous of my promotion to creative director and my standing in our Chicago neighborhood, she deliberately withheld my rosacea fruit allergy from Le Jardin's reservation, hoping I'd suffer a severe reaction. "You outshine me. You deserve some pain," she'd shouted, her arrogance palpable as she claimed no one would believe me. But they did. David, his face a mask of fury, my parents, their hands clenched, and the recording capturing every incriminating word. Helen's voice faltered when I revealed the call was on speaker. "Wait, is David there with you?" she asked, her tone trembling, the confidence evaporating as she realized her son had heard everything. David, who'd been silent, spoke up, his voice low but seething. "I heard it all, Mom. I can't believe you do this. Not just to Lisa, but to Anna. I don't even want to think of you as my mother anymore. We're cutting ties." Helen's desperate excuses. "It wasn't like that, I didn't mean it," rang hollow after her outburst, her earlier venom exposing her true nature. David's anger was a storm, his trust in the mother he'd adored shattered by her betrayal. He ended the call, ignoring her cries, his hands shaking as he turned to me, his brown eyes filled with regret. "I'm so sorry, Anna. I should have seen this sooner." My parents, equally enraged, stepped in. "We'll sue her for attempted murder," my father declared, his voice firm, his background as a retired attorney giving weight to the threat. "She knew your allergy could kill you. This wasn't negligence, it was intent." My mother nodded, her arms around me, the scent of her lavender perfume a grounding comfort. Later that night, David called his father, Robert, recounting the incident with a raw honesty that left Robert speechless. "I can't stay married to her," Robert said after a long pause, his voice breaking. "She's not the woman I thought I knew." He initiated divorce proceedings, throwing Helen out of their Lincoln Park home. With no relatives to rely on and no income as a lifelong housewife, she clung desperately, pleading through tears, but Robert's pity extended only to securing her a basic apartment, paying the first month's rent. "Find work, Helen," he told her, his tone final. "You're on your own." Helen's fall was swift and stark. She'd bargained on her family's loyalty, but her actions severed those ties. Rumors soon spread. She'd taken a job at a nearby supermarket, her once impeccable appearance replaced by a disheveled demeanor, her nasty attitude leaving her isolated. She tried to barge into our apartment one evening, demanding money, her voice shrill through the door. "You owe me, after all I've done for this family," she shouted, her hands pounding the wood. David, his patience long gone, opened the door, his expression cold. "Earn it yourself, Helen. Don't come near us again." I stood behind him, my arms crossed, the EpiPen in my purse a reminder of her betrayal. We drove her away, David's stern resolve ensuring she wouldn't return. She seemed to lack the drive to rebuild, her life a shadow of the privilege she'd once wielded, her only focus the compensation my parents' lawsuit would demand. Reflecting on why she'd done it, the pieces fell into place. Helen's jealousy stemmed from my independence. I was career-driven, earning promotions, well-regarded in our community, a stark contrast to her own life as a housewife. David's ex-wife, Lisa, had been an easier target, submissive, a full-time housewife after culinary school, her quiet nature making her vulnerable to Helen's bullying. Lisa had endured criticism of her cooking, discarded meals, and snide remarks when alone, unable to gather evidence or confide in David, who'd been too busy with his new job to notice. Helen had thrived on that control, but with me, she couldn't dominate. My success, my promotion, my social standing, gnawed at her, and she'd wanted to see me suffer, to reduce me to a position where she could look down on me, as she had with Lisa. David sought out Lisa to apologize, meeting her at Le Jardin a week later. The restaurant's dining room, once the site of my near disaster, now felt like a place of closure. Lisa, her chef's whites crisp, her dark hair pulled into a neat bun, greeted us warmly. "I'm sorry I didn't see what my mother was doing to you," David said, his voice heavy with regret. "I trusted her too much. I should have noticed." Lisa smiled, her expression kind. It's okay, David. I'm over it. I'm dating someone now, and I love my work here. Their conversation ended on a peaceful note, David relieved to know she'd found happiness. I too found a friend in Lisa, career-oriented like me, her resilience inspiring, and her age close to mine made our bond natural. There was no tension regarding her past with David. Instead, we connected over shared experiences, often meeting for coffee to talk about work and life. With Helen out of our lives, David and Robert threw me a promotion party to replace the tainted celebration. They rented a private room at a local bistro, one I trusted for its allergy protocols, the space adorned with string lights and a long table set with safe, savory dishes, herb-roasted chicken, garlic mashed potatoes, and a chocolate torte I could enjoy. David raised a glass, his smile genuine, the strain of the past weeks lifting. To Anna, our creative director, who turned a betrayal into a triumph, he toasted, his voice warm. Robert echoed the sentiment, his pride evident, and my parents, also present, beamed as we clinked glasses, the laughter and chatter a balm to the wounds Helen had inflicted. The celebration felt like a new beginning, a moment to cherish my achievements without the shadow of her malice. The incident at Le Jardin taught me to trust my instincts, a lesson that sharpened my edge at work and deepened my bond with David. Free from Helen's influence, we focused on our future. Weekend cooking sessions now filled with new recipes, our apartment a haven of love and trust. Lisa became a regular friend, her stories of culinary school sparking ideas for campaigns, while Robert, now living alone, joined us for Sunday dinners, his quiet humor a welcome addition. Helen's absence left a void, but it was one we filled with honesty and support, a family redefined by truth. As I walked into Brooks and Tate Creative each morning, Lake Michigan shimmering beyond my office window, I felt a renewed determination to excel, knowing the greatest victory wasn't just surviving Helen's plot. It was thriving beyond it, building a life where trust, not betrayal, defined my days.